Okay, I'm going to do a little monocoating here. This is a little pinstriping. What you want to do is find out where you want your pinstripes, what you want as your pinstripes, whether it be round, straight, if you want a pinstripe that just goes straight down, or you want some kind of decorative design. The first thing you do is go to your model and find out where you want the pinstripe to be and take a couple of measurements. I usually go through, like say I want to do a 1-inch pinstripe, maybe 3/4 of the way up on the board here. So I'll take the measurement of the board. I got 4. So I'm just going to actually go with a 1-inch thing just to make it simple. And I'm going to say I want a 1/2-inch pinstripe across it. So I'm going to mark that there on the board, and I'm going to come to the other side and find out where I want it to end up, and I'll do the same thing. I'll make a 1/2-inch pinstripe mark right here. So now to know where I want my pinstripe to lay. So then I'll take my covering that I'm going to use, and I'll just measure a 1/2 inch. And you can use, depending on what you're doing, you want to span the whole thing. You can use a 3-foot level as a nice straight edge to span a larger model, or do it in small sections if you want to. So basically I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to make a 1-inch mark, or a 1/2-inch mark off the edge if you got a nice straight edge. I don't know if this is a nice straight edge or not. So I'll make a nice straight edge so my pinstripe will be straight. And you need a nice sharp blade for pinstriping. A lot of times I'll put the pinstriping right on the model, and then I'll just do the carving of the monocoat right off the model. So I'm just going to take those 2 chunks right out for right now. We could just do that to make it simple, but we're going to go with the measurement because we need to go with the measurement. So now I'm going to go a 1/2 inch, and I'll put my mark there for a 1/2 inch. And I'll come to the opposite side, and I'll make sure it sits flat when you're taking your measurements. You don't want to curl up because it is going to shrink a little, so you want to lower your heat down, especially if you're going over like a wing, an open bay or something like that. On flat wood it's pretty easy, but you want to kind of account for a little bit of shrinkage. But if you put your heat iron down, or your blowgun, whatever, your heat gun, if you turn the temperature to that down, then you won't have this problem of it shrinking too much at all. Matter of fact, if you just tack the edges of it, it'll stay right there, as you're about to see here. So now I got my 1/2 inch piece that I want to go in there, and my blades are extremely dull. I've used every one of them up. I go back to the hobby store. So now I have my 1-inch piece, or my 1/2 inch piece of striping. I'm going to peel the backing off of this, which I already did because it's just a scrap piece. I'll lay that piece right on my monocoat, right to where I want it to be, right on my piece here. And I'm just going to come over and I'm going to tack the edge right in place, nice and flat. Now I'm going to go across to the other side and put that right on my marks as well, and make sure it's flat going right across. And I'm just going to tack that edge. So now I got my piece tacked exactly where I want it to be. Then the only other thing I have to do now is just tack it down. So I'm just going to hold it flat with my fingers, just lightly touch it, let the monocoat do it. Just come over with a quick shot. Now when you're going monocoat on monocoat, sometimes you end up with air bubbles, sometimes you don't. It all depends on how it went down, what the surface is, how hot your iron was. So that's one way of doing it. And then I'll just go back and just heat it up a little bit. Now you want to make sure that you don't heat it too much, like I said, or it'll shrink that. You don't want to bow your wood in or shrink the other monocoat that you've already got shrunk down on there anymore. So now say we want to make a curve coming off the end of here. I'll usually find some kind of curve that represents the radius I want, whether it be a 1/2 inch, whatever. I'll figure out the design that I want to do. And then I'll just go ahead and I'm going to mark down a 1/2 inch over here because I want it to kind of blend in out of here. Got debris and dust. Clean iron, make sure you got your clean iron on there. So I'm going to go a 1/2 inch here again, and I'm going to go a 1/2 inch back a little ways. I'm not sure how far I want it to go, but this is how I want my corner to be. And then I'll mark with the straight edge. I'll go another 1/2 inch here, so I'm going to get my 1/2 inch strip. And I'm just going to mark it with a pencil. I don't want to cut it yet. And then I'm just going to line up my piece to how I want the curve to be coming off of the top of the edge here. So I'm going to bring it back in a little so we can actually see the effect. And then I'll take my straight edge, or my blade, and I'm just going to go to a curve around and come out the top edge. And then I'll take my straight edge and finish off the turn. And of course you'll mark your ½ inch if you want to use a ½ inch as a mark, if you want to keep it uniform all the way around. Now I've got my curve in place. It's a little jagged because of my dull blade, not to worry. So now I already have my ½ inch mark here. All I need to do is make my ½ inch mark coming across, and I'll just use that little jagged edge as my guide anyway. I'm going to make a ½ inch here. Now I cut this thing straight down so I know that my ½ inch is going to come out okay. Put a ½ inch there. Now I'm going to draw my imaginary ½ inch line up there. I almost jumped the gun there. I can find the other mark. There it is. At least I think that's it. I'm just going to put a light score with a pencil right on there, and I'll know that that's where I want my curve to come to from this curve. So now I need to make the corner of the edge here and the corner of the edge here meet. And then I'll take my blade and I'll cut this around. Instead, if it was a nice sharp blade, it would be a lot easier. So now I got my ½ inch curve coming around the bend here, as I guess you could say. And I'll cut the rest of that off with my straight edge. Try to hit my marks. There, I got my curve coming around. And I'll just cut off the end of that because I don't need the whole strip to go across. The strip is already going across. I just wanted to blend it in. So now I got my curve, and if I had a nice sharp blade, of course we wouldn't have this little jagged edge on here. But then I would just place the piece in. And just the same way, oops, I don't know if you're back on the camera now, I'll place the piece right on here. Line up my edges, and then I'll slowly tack that. Get it sitting nice to where you want it to be. And then I'll just keep making it flat and keep walking across the piece. And now if I see any blemishes in it, I'm just going to lightly tack it. I can go back with my blade. And like I said, it's a nice sharp blade. You'll be able to trim it right to where you want it to go. Take it off. This is an extremely dull blade, so I'm not going to be able to get that piece off there without actually cutting into the wood. I don't think anyway. Oh, I got it. Just cutting off that little nubber. And now I made an inside debit. But anyway, that's how you would monocoat it and get your curve on there. And then I would go ahead and seal it down. And that you apply to pretty much anything you do. Trim off your edge. No matter whether you're going across a bay, making curves, use templates, use straight edges, and that's how you get nice straight lines and stuff. And of course, have a nice sharp blade, and you won't have little buries like this and dings like that. Because a nice sharp blade, you don't have to put so much pressure on it. You can really follow a nice groove. So if you want to do double lettering or anything like that, or something that's kind of shadowed to each other, I'll usually put two pieces of monocoat together, line them up. And you can tape them down or whatever, tape this one down on the bottom, then tape the next one, put your design down, and then just whatever you're going to do. If you're going to do a letter, so you're going to do like a letter A or an I or something like that, just take that out of the way. Do that there. And we'll just come across here. Peel all these away. And then when you go to lay it down, you can lay your letter down and then just kind of eyeball it and shadow it in there, however you want to do it. And then just heat it down. And I'll post some other videos, and that's how you would do a shadow or kind of a thing behind a thing and that type of stuff. Now there's another way to do it where you spray some Windex on. You just go like this, sop it up pretty good, lay your monocoat right down on there, your pinstriping. And this is probably the best way to get good results because you can move the piece all around. But then you're going to let it dry all night. But that's the most bubble-free system that you can use. If you do get an air bubble, poke it with a pin, let the bubbles come out of it, and then you just take your iron and heat it. And that'll take the bubbles right out of it. It'll shrink the monocoat down on there. And if you need to, I'm trying to cover everything here. I think that's about it. Pins or wrinkles like that, just heat the monocoat back up, and you can peel it right back off. And in most cases. And then as you're going to take the monocoat off or peel up because you have a wrinkle, just kind of heat behind it and pull it up. Comes up nice and easy, as you can see. But that's of course with the nice gooey Windex behind it, but I heated it so it should stick it. But anyway, that's how you would get the wrinkles out or bubbles out. And that's basically all there is to do in pinstriping as far as using iron on it. Just take your measurements, mark it precise, use straight edges, use curves. I use paint cans, masking tape rolls, anything for curves. You can put curves together, but just draw it all out there first and then take a nice sharp blade and cut it all out. And that's basically how you pinstripe.